Which,
That's what she was, that's nice.
I think
Yeah.
that's nice too.
That is, I didn't tumble to that. I kept thinking she'll be here 20th.
Yeah,
I thought, oh,
yeah.
can you help?
No. There we go.
Was it charging?
Well, it was charging fine. I just need to make sure the microphone was working.
I was wondering, when we listen to the service via TV or computer, we cannot hear you very well. What we hear a lot is what's said in the back, like if
That's
someone
because
speaks.
the microphone's in the back. You need someone who's able to feed in order to get it to run better, we need a dedicated system for it that would cost thousands of
Oh,
dollars.
is it that much?
Yeah.
Oh. Because it distorts the organ also. Have you listened to it?
Not much.
It really distorts the sound of the organ. It's like there's a feedback or it's, the organ
Well,
sound
are you
is
talking about
purr.
last week's
No,
or in
always.
general?
Always.
Because last week was nuts.
I didn't see much difference on TV myself, but I thought it was like always. And people, Bonnie was home, I think one eve for Lenten service that night when it was snowy. And she said it was hard to hear the pastor. And he used the mic. She asked if he used the mic, and he did.
I don't think the pastor, the night it was snowy, did use the microphone. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. The one, the one from Carney did, but I don't think the other one did.
Okay.
I can't keep these names all straight. You know, they
Pastor
can't
Matt.
have names like Smith and Jones that I might remember. They've gotta have Weinkopp and all these.
Yeah, Mount is just a bear to remember. You're right, Nancy. Oh, how dare we have given names? Altman.
Right.
Mount Geneva.
Oh, man.
So I would.
But I don't.
But you can keep
I don't know.
all your sports players straight.
Did anybody else think that he used the microphone that night? There was no night. I don't know. Well, he didn't seem very loud to me. I don't know. Usually there's a big difference to me between that and whatever. And Myrna's may notice that too, because, you know, as loud as Pastor Weinkoff is, unless you were using the microphone, she had trouble
He
understanding.
didn't walk around or something.
So,
They've been very effective. We can hear them better when we're here than if.
yeah, but I know Myrna's made comment to that too, so.
So thousands of dollars for a.
Yes, for a real sound system. Carney just had one put in for like $4,000 or $5,000.
Okay, you know these things. So there's no way to have a laptop up front. We don't have those connections.
We'd have to rewire the church.
Okay,
I'll change your check.
you're changing my check.
Yeah, I'll add on that 4,500.
Well, there it is, yeah. But you know, in
Yeah,
my
come on,
mind,
you skinflints, open up your wallets, will ya?
but I was thinking, what, I mean, if we were going Sunday by Sunday with current expenses and whatever, and trying to figure that out, I would say let's do a thing that's dedicated to that, because it would mean that by the time we probably get it all together,
It cost even more.
yeah, it would cost even more, is right.
Or the Lord might have come.
This is true too, but that doesn't mean that we stop doing things just because
Right.
he might come in the next minute.
Nah, he wants me to get this Bible class in first.
There it is.
Okay, let's go.
That's what we figured.
Okay, we have 2 chapters in front of us because I couldn't think of a better way to divide it.
Hmm?
Our readers are gone.
Let the balls on that.
Okay, Genesis 44 and 45. Caitlin has volunteered to read the whole thing.
I'm too loud in school. People out here.
Most she said.
In weeks. Yeah.
Joseph commanded the manager of his house, fill the men's bags with food, as much as they can carry. Put each man's money into the mouth of his bag. Put my cup, the silver cup, into the mouth of the bag of the youngest, along with his money for the grain. The manager did exactly what Joseph told him to do. As soon as it became light in the morning, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. When they had left the city and still were not very far away, Joseph said to his manager, "Get up, pursue these men. When you overtake them, ask them, 'Why have you repaid evil for good? Isn't this the cup that my Lord drinks from and that he uses for divination? By doing this, you have done evil.' The steward caught up to them and spoke those words to them.
They replied to him, "Why does my Lord say such things? The servants would never do such a thing. That money which we found in the mouths of our bags, we brought it back to you from the land of Canaan. Why then would we steal silver or gold out of your Lord's house? If your cup is found with any of your servants, let him die, and we also will be my Lord's slaves." He said, "Fine, it will be just as you have said. If it is found with anyone, he will be my slave, and the rest of you will be blameless." Then each man quickly lowered his bag to the ground, and each man opened his bag. The manager searched, beginning with the oldest and finished with the youngest. And the cup was found in Benjamin's bag. Then they tore their clothing, and each man loaded his donkey and returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. They fell to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, what did you think you were doing? Didn't you know that a man like me can discover things by divination?
Judah said, "What can we tell you, my lord? What can we say? How can we clear ourselves? God has exposed the guilt of your servants. Here we are. We are my lord's slaves, both we and the one in whose hand the cup was found." Joseph said, "I would never do that. The man in whose hand the cup was found will be my slave. But as for the rest of you, go up in peace to your father." Then Judah approached him and said, "Oh, my lord, please let your servant speak to me, my lord, directly. Do not let your anger burn against your servant, because you are not just like Pharaoh." My lord asked his servants, "Do you have a father or a brother?" He said to my lord, "We have a father, an old man, and a child from his old age, a young one. His brother is dead, and he alone is left from his mother, and his father loved him." He said to your servants, "Bring him down to me, so that I may see him with my own eyes." He said to my lord, "The boy cannot leave his father, for if he were to leave his father would die." He said to your servants, "Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will never see my face again." And so it was that when we came to your servant, my father, we told him about the words of my lord. Our father said, "Go again, buy us a little food." He said, "We cannot go down if our youngest brother is with us. We will go down because we cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us." Your servant, my father, said to us, "We know that my wife gave birth to 2 sons from me. One has departed from me," and I said, "I am sure he is torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one away from me as well, and mishap comes upon him, he will bring my gray hairs down to the grave with sorrow. So now when I can't come to your servant, my father, and the boy is not with us, since my father's life is bound up in the boy's life, when he sees that the boy is no more, he will die. Your servants will bring down the gray hairs of your servant, my father, to the grave with sorrow." For your servant became a guarantee for the boy to my father. I said, "If I do not bring him to you, then I will bear the blame before my father forever. So please let your servant stay as a slave to my lord instead of the boy, and let the boy go up with his brothers. For how can I go up to my father if the boy is not with me? How can I stand to see the evil that will come on my father?"
Joseph was unable to control himself in front of all his attendants, so he called out, "Send everyone out from my presence." When no one else was left with him, Joseph revealed himself to his brothers. He wept out loud. The Egyptians heard him, and the house of Pharaoh heard about it. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" His brothers could not answer him because they were terrified by his presence. Joseph said to his brothers, "Come closer to me." They came closer. He said, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. Now don't be upset or angry with yourselves for selling me to this place, since God sent me ahead of you to preserve life. For 2 years now the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me ahead of you to preserve you as survivors on the earth, and to keep you alive by a great act of deliverance. So it was not you who sent me here, but God, and he has made me a father to Pharaoh, lord over his entire house, and ruler over the whole land of Egypt. Hurry, go up to my father and tell him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Do not delay. You shall live in the land of Goshen, where you will be close to me, you, your children, your grandchildren, your flocks, your herds, and all you have. I will take care of you here, for there are still 5 years of famine. Otherwise you will come to ruin, you, your household, and all you have. Pay attention. Your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. You shall tell my father all about my position of honor in Egypt, and about everything you have seen. Hurry and bring my father down here."
He threw his arms around his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his shoulder. He kissed all his brothers and wept over them. After that, his brothers talked with him. This report was heard in Pharaoh's house. Joseph's brothers have come. This pleased Pharaoh and his officials. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, load your animals, travel quickly to the land of Canaan. Get your father and your households, and return to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the rich food of the land. Now I command you to do this. Take carts from the land of Egypt for your little ones and your wives, and bring your father here. Also, do not worry about your belongings, for the best of the whole land of Egypt is yours."
So that is what the sons of Israel did. Joseph gave them carts, as Pharaoh had commanded, and he gave them supplies for the journey. He gave each one of them a change of clothing. To Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of clothing. He sent the following to his father: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and supplies for his father on the journey. So he dismissed his brothers, and they departed. He said to them, "See to it that you do not quarrel on the way." They went up from Egypt and came to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan. They told him, "Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt." He was stunned because he did not believe them. They told Jacob every word that Joseph had said to them. When he saw the carts that Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. Israel said, "It is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die."
All right, so anything jump out at you guys?
A lot of happiness in there when finally realized that Joseph is who he is, and he forgives them. And then the father, after all he's been through, it is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive.
Indeed. Anything else? don't get a lot of happiness in families.
No. Did you also think it was interesting that Joseph said to his brothers, see to it that you do not quarrel on the way? He knew his brothers pretty well, didn't he? They were on a mission of mercy.
Read the list of questions.
List of questions. I warned them not to quarrel.
Yeah.
Question 10.
Yes, I did find that interesting. So why warn them not to quarrel? You guys are always picking questions out before I even just stop writing Bible studies. You can write them. How about that? What do you think of that?
I want you. Is it writing?
Okay, so why warn them not to quarrel? No idea. They famously get along so well to begin with.
Yeah. All that testosterone.
Oh yes, you're right, Carol. Women never quarrel. Women they just get along perfectly.
You'd think that they had such a mission to get home to their father that they wouldn't have quarreled even without him warning them, but
Oh,
he knew him, didn't he? He knew those brothers.
He also gifted Benjamin more than he did them individually,
Oh,
and that could have stirred little favoritism issues.
well, I sincerely doubt these men would be shocked that Joseph would favor his biological brother over his half-brothers. Or full brothers over his half-brothers, I guess. Okay. So, why put the cup in Benjamin's bed? Why not Simeon's? Why not Levi's?
Well, maybe he was wondering about, they didn't treat Joseph very well, his half-brothers. So maybe he was wondering, how are they gonna react to this?
Mm-hmm. It was a test to see if they were as crappy to Benjamin as they were to him. So why then chase them down? He let them get all the way full day's journey before they found out they were losing, that they had got their money back the last time. This time they barely got out of the city before they got chased out.
does it lead to the next question of the talk of divination?
No.
So he can prove to them that he knows what's going on.
Well, he did it. He better know what was going
Ordered his
on.
manager to do it,
Yeah.
but they don't know that.
Well, they don't know that, but
Well, maybe it was because they would be further out of I don't know how many, they'd be further away from it would be harder for them to be, that they could escape away from Joseph's men.
Last time, he let them find the money by themselves and let them see what to do. This time, they didn't have that
They didn't
option.
have
They
time.
were forced into see what would happen. You ever play with the yo-yo? What does that do? Goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up. Joseph was using their emotions like a yo-yo. Oh, we're fine. We got more food. We can survive for a while. What? What do you mean we stole? Why would we do that? We brought back our money. Oh, no. Benjamin, no. He was stressing them emotionally, putting them on a roller coaster, playing them like a yo-yo to see what would happen. How do you see if something's strong or not? You stress it. He was stressing his brothers. But why then all the talk about divination? As far as Joseph's brothers knew, who was Joseph?
Pharaoh's man.
Mhm.
They didn't know yet he was their brother
Why was he Pharaoh's man?
because he was due to divine what was going on.
He's playing a role here. Whether or not Joseph used the dregs of the wine for divination, this is literally the only mention we have of it, and we know he was an otherwise upright man, which leads to two possibilities. Either this was all entirely a ruse, or God allowed him to see things in the dregs of the wine that he normally doesn't. One of those two things has to have happened. You may have personal opinions on which one's which, but that's all they can be, opinions, because we don't know what's happening here entirely. I suspect, however, that this is a continuation of Joseph's role. This is the dream interpreter that probably was known throughout the land. How did he rise to power so quickly? He interpreted Pharaoh's dreams. And now those dream interpretations were paying off. And a man who's a dream interpreter, it therefore makes sense that he would also be a diviner of some sort. I suspect this is Joseph playing a role, but it may be that he literally used this cup to divine things given to him by God. So why tell the other brothers that they're free to go?
Could you repeat that?
Why tell the other brothers they were free to go? Joseph was only going to keep Benjamin.
I think he wanted to see whether they would help Benjamin or not.
This was the last test. Look, you have two things here. Either you can be slaves in Egypt, all of you. Three things, really. You can be slaves in Egypt, all of you. You can abandon your brother and leave him as a slave. Or you can do what Judah did here. Judah says a lot of words and repeats the phrase, your servant, meaning about 30 different people in his little answer there. What is Judah actually saying in plain English?
I'm waiting for all these wise people to answer.
She's talking to you, Mildred.
Judah is telling the whole story of what Benjamin means to their father, and maybe he needed to hear it himself. He is showing care for his father as well as.
I think we
That's
can,
the main thing.
I think we can sum up what Judah says in 2 sentences. We can't leave the kid behind. It'll kill our dad. There's a lot of, you're serving, and it makes it a bit of a slog to read through. Because you gotta figure out which servant of Joseph Judah's talking about. So, what made Joseph so emotional in all this?
Well, could have been that, he realized that they were treating Benjamin and their dad a little better than they treated him.
Yeah. So why were Joseph's first words after revealing himself words of comfort? Dean knows, he's just not talking.
They probably, he didn't want them to be afraid that he was going to punish them for what they had done because he had all this power.
And to explain to them the real reason he was sent to Egypt in the first place. They had done a crappy thing, but it worked out for good. So Pharaoh's reaction I find fascinating. Why would Pharaoh be happy Joseph's brothers were there? Doesn't affect Pharaoh in the slightest. Why would he be happy?
Well, because Joseph, he had the talent to interpret dreams or whatever, if he thought his brothers would have similar talents.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I see a lot of merit in that possibility. I think this question's connected to the next one, though. Why did Pharaoh invite Joseph's family to live in Egypt?
And give them really good land too.
Why wouldn't he keep Joseph around?
Uh-huh.
Makes sense.
When I accepted the call here, one of the first questions I asked was, does the parsonage have a washer and dryer? Because in our time in Wisconsin, we never had a washer and dryer. I brought my clothes in on Tuesdays to the pastor I was serving with and did our laundry at his house. So one of the things that we were looking forward to is being able to do laundry in-house. There wasn't a washer and dryer here, but you know what was here by the time we showed up? A washer and dryer.
I did not know that.
Why? because you all wanted your new pastor to be happy and comfortable. I
And
think,
his wife.
Yeah.
And his wife.
Carol's got your back, dear.
I feel
Well,
like
the
you
wife's
should
happy, the husband's happy too.
Happy wife, happy life.
There it is.
You're smiling. It takes the effect off the glare a little bit, dear. Yeah, it's the same thing. If you've got someone really useful to you, making them comfortable will help them stick around a lot longer. Now, I'm not nearly as important as Joseph, but I think the principle holds. How did Jacob react to all this?
It's coming.
Yeah, honestly, isn't it a shockingly underwhelming reaction?
It is a very short paragraph.
It is enough.
It is enough.
I will see Joseph before I die. That's it? That's all you got on all of this, Jacob? Okay, yeah, good enough.
He didn't lament leaving the dried out land where he was.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of things he could have said, but no, Joseph's alive, good enough. Anything further on any of this?
It is interesting how little he had to say compared to what Judah,
Yeah,
his son had to say. It's very interesting. I was wondering what people are thinking about what they'd like to study next.
I haven't had anyone offer any suggestions. Now would be a good time, because we only have a few chapters left in Genesis.
I keep thinking, I need to study Exodus. I need to read Exodus. Is there any, I bow to what others suggest because they have the best ideas, but
Except for Nancy.
it's one nomination. One
I have
suggestion.
no idea.
Because there's such a lot that happens between chapter 45
And Exodus 1.
and
That's a suggestion. It is the best suggestion we have had so far. It is also the only suggestion.
let's have more.
Yes. Carol, I would not want to go with your suggestion by default.
Right? I don't want to.
I would like to have several options discussed and then one decided upon.
It really is, it is quite interesting. All that happened is recorded in Genesis.
Because we can go through a book of the Bible like this, really pull apart each chapter, or we can study a topic or something like that. So if there's a certain topic that you find particularly worth diving deeper in, mention that. If there's a book of the Bible you really want to pull apart for a while, we can do that. I expect you to come with suggestions next week.
Something I've wondered is if those who finished communicants class, or even who are in communicants class, if they would like to come to Bible study. I've always wished Wyatt would come, but he's busy teaching.
Well, yeah,
Sunday school.
he's got a good excuse. I've wanted to start up a team study, but
I know you have.
it's,
You mentioned long ago.
I've lost momentum on it.
We need more teams.
And it doesn't help that half of our catechism class isn't here in town right now.
It might be,
Peru.
Oh, yeah.
it might be good, we say Bible study is on, or it's not on this certain Sunday. It might be good to give it a little shout out as to what we're studying, and people can join anytime. We wouldn't have to wait to join it.
Okay, anything else? Nancy's falling asleep.
No? It's interesting. Just interesting to think about something else. Isn't it?
Coffee's ready.
I don't know if I said on Wednesday night that Bonnie had told me, there's a well site that she had gone to